Hello, my fellow Americans. 'Tis I, the Rumpled One. Well, once again, I really appreciate the discussion we've been having about liberty, freedom, religion, discrimination. It's a conversation that we all need to be having, with our families, with our friends, with people we meet. We need to get everything out on the table. But I'm still not convinced, even though I'm keeping an open mind and I am defending my position, but I am open to listening to the other side because there are some dilemmas here. And it starts to get into the definition game where things are whatever you say they are, and the line drawing game where the line's here today and then tomorrow we move it, the next day we move it even further, and then maybe we put it back. For example, the discussion Roe v. Wade. They're saying the abortion matter has been settled in the Supreme Court. Well, some people want to revisit it. Some people want to overturn it. And I understand both sides. Once again, the government versus the individual. Society versus, the person. Government's job is to govern. And to govern means to have laws in place. And when you have laws in place, you have to enforce these laws. See, maybe what we need more than laws are guidelines where we can have more of a live and let live society. I mean, think about that for a second. In other words, the preferred guideline is you don't smoke dope. But it's only a guideline. And for those who do, well, they're just going against the guideline, but it's live or let live. Now, there's certain things like murder, stealing, where I think we can put a pretty hard and fast line. Go, no, if it doesn't belong to you and you take it, and we catch you taking it, or if you're in possession of something that doesn't belong to you, then there's consequences. I can go along with that. But it does get fuzzy when you come to abortion. It's just like you have, inside the woman there's this, let's just say, this tissue. Some people say it's not a person, some people say it's due. It is a person. It's a hard call. I mean, it's inside the woman's body, but yet it's another entity. And if someone were to kill the woman and that entity inside dies, it's a double homicide. I discussed that before. So there's a dilemma. I mean, there's things, the whole idea about men using women's bathrooms. I saw a really good picture on the internet where, like if you go to a big event and they have those porta potties, well, they said the problem's solved. Doesn't matter what you are. You go into your little blue porta potty, you do your business. So a woman can go in there and come out, then a man can go in there and come out, and then whatever it wants to call itself can go in and come out. And I'm not saying that to be funny, because it's whatever it is what it is. So unless I know, I just refer to it as it. So, I mean, there you go. I mean, that's pretty funny, I think. Because I guess the whole argument could be considered ludicrous. But then you've got that certain segment of the population who says, well, I look like a man, I've got the pieces of a man, but I identify with female, so I want to use the female restroom. I mean, I think 40 years ago, 50 years ago, it will be laughable. It would be like, it would be thought stupid, be thought crazy, but somehow things have been slightly twisted, warped, bent. Some people might call it enlightened. I don't know. To me, just doesn't make sense. But I guess I'm an old guy. After so many laps around the sun, it's kind of hard to pull one over on me. But I'm sure maybe then again, as that one book I reviewed, I guess I'm just a, if I think that way, I'm the perfect, candidate to be taken. But back to the point. I still don't believe that anybody should be able to hide behind their beliefs, whether they're religious beliefs, personal beliefs, spiritual beliefs, family beliefs, community beliefs, that they should be able to discriminate against somebody just because of their belief. I mean, people talk about, we reserve the right to refuse service. Well, I always like to ask that question because, as you can imagine, that I've been discriminated more than once in my lifetime. And so I'm always curious what they mean by that sign, so I ask. And usually they say, well, if somebody comes in here and they're rude, they're obnoxious, they're disturbing other customers, they're drunk and disorderly, we ask them to leave. We don't want those type of people in the store. And I go, anything else? They go, no, that's it. Well, that's understandable. That's reasonable. That's common sense. Nothing to be argued about. But if somebody says, oh yeah, and we're not selling to gay people, or we're not selling to Middle Eastern people, or we're not selling to black people, or we're not selling to men, or something like that, then it gets a little shaky. I mean, because when you look at this argument, you can talk about it in what I would call the realm of common sense, and then you can go outside a few standard deviations away from the norm, and then you can start talking about ridiculous things. For example, there's a all-women's gym. Well, I think there's a reason for that, because women might not feel comfortable working out in front of a man. So they have their own gym. Is that discrimination? On one level it is. On another level, I think it's common sense. So you see, it gets kind of fuzzy. But to me, if I tried to push that issue, I think I'm too many standard deviations away from the norm. But then you might ask, well, what's the difference between that and the bathroom? So once again, the debate is still open. It's fuzzy, but it's the government's role to set laws so we can have a society that functions. And personally, I think if men can start going into women's bathrooms, I think society isn't going to function too well. I might be wrong. And along those same lines, I think if people can start discriminating against other people because they say their religion prohibits them from selling and baking a cake, or giving somebody a marriage license because it goes against their personal religious or other beliefs, well, then they shouldn't be engaged in that business. They shouldn't be out there serving the public. Now, that might sound kind of harsh, and hey, you guys disagree? Like I said, it's a great debate. I'm not saying I'm giving my opinion, and we all know what that's worth. But the fact of the matter is, I think we need some cool heads leading the country, and I think we need to focus on things that are important to everybody in the country, and not just these special interest groups. On the other hand, we have to make sure that one group isn't allowed to just run over another group, because that's where the problems start. So I just don't think it's in the best interest of the American people, of we the people, to allow one segment to use religion or anything to discriminate against another part of our community, a part of our society, a part of our country. To me, that just goes against everything that it stands for. Now, I am all for individual liberty, individual freedom. And I'm even arguing for people that I don't necessarily agree with. You know, I might not agree with what somebody says, but you know what? I'll fight to the death for their right to say it. Because I think, you know, that's free speech is important. Or there's a lot of people who want to literally shoot somebody if they say something that, you know, the person is disagreeable to them, that they disagree with. That's not right. That's not what this country's about. So, my fellow Americans, wake up and smell the tyranny.